Now I don't know if I'm on the right sub for this tale, but I got hired and promoted in just a period of 2 hours. So, I am a New Zealander, also known as a Kiwi, and here was my offshore adventure. This takes place in London. I was wandering around the street, and I saw this guy struggling with a pallet of beer. He was trying to get it into a music venue. So, trying to be a nice guy, I asked him if he needed a hand. I don't know how far this guy has been hauling this beer, but it looks like he's gone a long way, because he was sweating profusely. So, I ended up helping him out. So, we get all the beers in the empty venue. And he asked, "So, are you willing to help me set up the bar? It needs to be set up this way. You think you can help me out?" I think he assumed that I worked there, but I hate confrontation, so I just said, "Oh, yeah, sure." So I start putting the beer in the fridge, and he says, "I'm off to take a shower. Keep up the good work." So you've known me about 20 minutes, and you're trusting me, unsupervised, with this bar venue? It's not really what I signed up for when I offered my help, but I had nothing planned, so there's nothing to it. I just decided to work there now. So I keep setting up the bar, and the bar staff start showing up. They must have been temps, or been used to seeing staff changes, because they assumed that I was the bar manager, because I was the only one in the place. So they introduced themselves to me and asked what they can do. Luckily, I've worked in a bar before, so I started to delegate. All this time, the owner is nowhere to be seen, but I'm enjoying my new manager role, just bemused about the whole situation. Finally, an hour since he left, he comes back, and something must have clicked, because he came up to me and said, "You're not one of the staff, are you?" "Nah, mate." "Why'd you help me?" "You look like you needed a hand with a pallet of beer. You were sweating pretty bad." "Well, do you like the specials? They're playing tonight, and it's sold out. So stick around and enjoy. Oh, and the bar staff over here, they'll let you drink free all night, whatever you want." Man, I love specials, and I love beer. That was a very enjoyable night. You know, I think that's really cool, and I think he deserved it. I wouldn't be able to drink the beer. I'd get a migraine. That's pretty awesome, though. Well, wasn't that surprisingly refreshing? Beer refreshed. Oh, forget it. Several Christmases ago, my wife was at a Target trying to buy a video game for my son. The electronics counter, it was swamped with customers, and there was only one poor teenager working the desk. He was fairly clueless, so she was patiently waiting for her turn for them to unlock the display cabinet. Some random lady turns to her and complains, "Hey, we were here before those people," pointing to the folks that are currently being assisted. My wife shrugged in reply. So someone else said to her, "They really should have a numbered ticket system here." My wife agreed with the idea. Finally, someone wondered out loud why she wasn't on the other side of the counter, helping the customers. Then she realized that she was wearing the same kind of clothes that the employees were wearing. Being a longtime teacher at a non-profit educational preschool, her instincts clicked in, and immediately she set things in order. "Okay, everyone form a single line down this aisle." She quickly organized the shopping queue, as everyone there obeyed her commands, like she was some retail drill sergeant. She put herself in the front of the line, and like magic, the next customer to be waited on. By the time everyone figured it out, she had the game bought and paid for, and she was out the door. Good for her. She got exactly what she deserved. If I was forced to work, I'd probably do the same thing. I was working on night shift at a Walmart when I heard the jingling of keys, and I looked around to find the source, and a nervous man was talking to himself. "Everywhere I go, they come out of the aisles and look at me." I suppressed a giggle, and I said to the poor man, "It's your keys, man. They think you're management." The man looked at me, smiled, and took a breath. He looked more relaxed after that. After all, the poor guy didn't work there. I'd love to see this dramatized. For some reason, I imagine Martin Freeman as the Hobbit when he was trying to hide from Smaug, ducking around the corners whenever someone looks at him, and that nervous little look. We should get on that. I live in the Netherlands, and I decided to go on vacation with my girlfriend to the US. We were around Chicago, and after driving around to the next hotel, we decided to stop at the local Walmart. We go in and we look around for some drinks, snacks, just to get us through the night, and for the ride the next day. As we walk through some of the aisles, we stop and look at many choices of chips. We made our selection, and we went on to the non-food department. We just look around. At some point, I just remembered that with some of the chips, we needed some dip, so I told my girl that I would go back and pick something out. Not wanting to look around, I spot a worker stocking some shelves, so I walk over and ask him. I knew he worked there because he had the uniform as well as stocking shelves, making it quite obvious. I asked him where the dip is, and he politely asked me what kind of dip, what chips do I have, and would I like hot, spicy, or mild. Oh my god, he was really selling this to me. It was a really good service. So we spend about 1 to 5 minutes talking, and he points me to the aisle. He says which aisle, where at, and what shelf, and what brand to look for. I thanked him profusely, and I walked off, not noticing that I was being followed. As I look on the shelf, top to bottom, I'm still having difficulty locating the brand. Then I hear it. For those of you who have experienced this, the well-known ahem. I stop and I look up. Oh, I'm sorry. Am I in the way? I step back a little. I need this item. Where can I find it? I don't know. I don't work here. Yes, you do. I just saw you talking to your colleague. What colleague? That guy that you just spoke to? Are you that short of memory? You mean the actual worker that I asked where I could find my item? Yes, you know him, so you must work here. Now tell me where the item is. So you think that since I talked to someone that was an actual employee, that I work here? Okay, so as you think I work here, and now you're talking to me, a so-called employee, yes, I use my fingers as air quotes, now you work here by your logic. So now, that being said, can you tell me where my branded dip is? It's not here. Can you check the back? I can't do that. I don't work here. Oh, my mistake. And I walk off, watching her gulping like a fish. No dip tonight. After paying, I told my girl about the encounter in the car, and we laughed it off, all the way to the hotel. I never would have guessed this happened to me. This reminds me of the one I just read not too long back. Excellent. I'm sure this wouldn't work every time you did it, but I like it. It's almost like the child's game of stop hitting yourself. You take their logic and you smack their face with it. Stop smacking yourself. Stop smacking yourself. Yeah, my brother did that to me when I was younger, but I still love him. He would probably still do stuff like that today if I let him. I was at a Kohl's with my mom. She asked me to get one of the 10 liters of water while she picked up other stuff. I was in the water aisle and an old lady was looking for a worker trying to lift the 10 liter herself. I decided to pick it up for her and put it in her cart, and she thanked me. I picked up a 10 liter water for myself and I started to walk away when a guy stops me and he asked, "Hey, can you fetch this item for me?" I didn't really remember, but I'm sure it was on the other side of the store, so I responded, "I'm sorry, that's on the other side of the store. I'm not gonna do that." I try to move on, and he stops me and says, "Hey, don't try to slack up on your job and not get my item." Listen, buddy, I don't work here. I saw you helping that old lady. You have to work here. Listen, the only reason why I helped her because I saw she was having trouble, and she needed my help, so I decided to help. Wow, well, I need help. Go get it for me. Look. You look capable enough to walk yourself and do it. I'm not going to do that. I start to walk off. All the while I could hear him yelling at me from the back. Hey! 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 I mean, is it really too hard for you to walk there yourself? You know what I would want to do? I would never do it. I couldn't do it myself, but it's kind of a funny thought. You say, "Go get me this." I would tell him an aisle that didn't exist and say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I got this water. I'm getting this for another customer. I'll be back," and just not show back up and let them have fun trying to figure out how to find it. I wouldn't do that. I probably would have done what this guy did. What are some of the funny ways of getting back at people like this in this situation? I'd love to hear some of the comments. If you have any good ones, I'd love to hear y'all's ideas. I used to work in the security industry During my career in security, I worked as an armed, commissioned security officer and a supervisor for several companies, as well as managed the security company. One of my contracts provided guard services for a local chain of banks, including standalone banks and some locations inside of Walmart stores. Okay, let's cut to a couple of years later, and by this point, I have less security in favor of something less dangerous. At the time that this happened, I was working as a regional manager for a company that contracted to sell demonstrations and taste tests inside big name stores, one of which happened to be Walmart. Now keep in mind, the uniform that we're in when we're inside the stores were black, with black slacks, a button-down sleeve dress shirt with a black apron that sported the Walmart logo and a clip-on name tag. One day, one of my regular employees called in sick, this being for a demonstration in a nearby Walmart, so I had to fill in for her. This Walmart had a bank inside, the same bank company that I used to do security for. However, when I walked by the bank inside the Walmart, I noticed that the female armed security guard that was in front of the bank was not from the company I was from. Now I had 20 minutes to spare before I went to the demonstration, so out of curiosity, I stepped inside to ask the bank employees if they knew when the bank had stopped using the old security company in favor of the current one. As I stepped inside, I see that the tellers are all busy, so I politely wait. A couple of minutes pass, and a teller sees me standing there. "Is there something I can help you with?" I politely asked her about it, and she said she didn't know, and told me that the bank manager might, and she points to the door around the counter. I knock on the door, and after a couple of minutes without an answer, I return to the counter where the teller was, and told her that I had no answer. I tell her that I have to go to work, and I just check back later. I thank her for her time, and she says okay. Then I turn to leave the bank. Here's where the story takes a turn. As I leave the bank, the security guard approaches me. The conversation goes like this. "Excuse me, sir." "Yes?" "I'm going to have to ask you to leave." "Pardon me?" "Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to leave." "Why?" "The teller made a gesture toward me that indicates that she wants you to leave." "A gesture? Really? What are you talking about?" "She made a gesture that you were bothering her, and she wanted you to leave." "Okay. First of all, I didn't see any gesture, and it didn't seem like I was bothering her. If I was bothering her, she could have simply asked me to leave. She didn't say anything to me." "Sir, you need to drop your attitude." "Excuse me? I need to drop my attitude? You need to get out of my face." "Well, who do you think you're talking to like that?" Oh, at this point, it's apparent that this guard has a cop complex. I know exactly who I'm talking to. Some lame security guard who thinks she's all that. "You think you're talking to me like that?" "I'm someone who used to do your job, and I've been several pay grades higher than you. You need to get out of my face." At this point, I turn to walk away, and she tries to reach out and grab my arm. I pull away. "Don't you f***ing touch me! I'm not done with you!" "What?" "Okay, let me explain something to you. You see that line?" I point to where the tiles on the floor change, where the bank area ends and the Walmart area begins. You're working at the bank. Your authority only applies on their property. When you cross the line, your authority ended. Now, get out of my face and don't touch me again." "You know what? Where's your manager? I'm gonna report you and get your fired." Good luck with that. The guard walked away towards customer service, and I walk over to the bench and sit down and wait, as I still have 10 minutes until I had to go to work. A minute later, the guard approaches me with the customer service manager. "This is the guy I'm talking about. I want you to report him for being disrespectful and causing a scene."
"What's going on here?"
First of all, let me say that she approached me and got an attitude with me. I didn't start anything with her. She came and got in my face. And second, I wasn't disrespectful. She didn't like the fact that she was wrong and that I put her in her place. "Oh, that's bullshit. You're supposed to respect my authority in there."
"Listen, what department do you work in?"
"Oh, I don't work here." The manager and the guard both looked at me confused.
"Huh?"
"What?" "Yeah, I don't work here." "What do you mean you don't work here? You obviously do." "No, I'm sorry. I don't work for Walmart. Thank you."
"Then why are you wearing the Walmart stuff if you don't work for us?"
"It's my uniform. It's required for my job."
So you do work for us?"
"No, I don't work for Walmart."
"Then why are you here? Why are you wearing Walmart stuff?"
"Because I have to. Because I have to be at work in 3 minutes."
"Huh? Okay then, you have no business here, then you need to leave."
"I'm sorry, I can't leave. I have to be at work." The manager and the guard are both obviously perplexed.
Okay, what's the deal? You say you don't work here, but you have to be here for work.
I work for a company that contracts with Walmart to do demonstrations for taste tests. I don't work for Walmart. I'm here for a demonstration.
Oh, okay, I understand now. So what's the issue with you and her?
She misinterpreted a situation and thought she should be involved. I had a polite exchange with the teller, and she thought that she was trying to wave me off, like I was annoying her, and she decided to get in my face.
Oh, okay, I see. Okay, well, you need to go ahead and do whatever you're gonna do. I'm sorry about the confusion.
So what do you mean? Why isn't he leaving?
That means I have no authority over him. He doesn't work for me. There's nothing I can do.
This is bullshit!
I'm sorry, ma'am.
At this point, the guard is obviously annoyed, especially since I wasn't thrown out or fired. She indignantly returned to the bank, and the manager went back to customer service, and I went about performing my demonstration for the day. After that, every time I would go to Walmart and walk past the bank, the guard was there. She would stare me down with a scowl, and I would glare back with a smile on my face. I used to be a security guard for 3-4 years. I love that job, but I used to go around and guard certain places like coal mines, factories, and yes, I did the mall scene quite regularly actually. That was probably one of my favorite. I was able to go around and talk to people. Mostly what I did was just wanted to be helpful, and a lot of the kids that were seen as problems, actually I got along with them very well, and they showed me a lot of respect because I treated them like humans. I really missed that job. It was fun. There was a psychology test back in the 70s, I think, where people who had authority over others usually abused it. Even people who didn't have a problem with being mean or cruel. Anyone who thinks their authority makes them better than anybody else or puts them above anyone shouldn't be in that position. You always treat someone the way you want to be treated. I don't care what position you're in. If you're in a higher position than somebody and you don't treat them the way you want to be treated, you don't need to be in that position. You need to be on the bottom. Okay, sorry for the seriousness. I guess I'm not really proud of this, but it was kind of funny. I worked at an auto parts store, and I answered the phone. Now the phone had one digit off from the mental hospital located nearby. Ours was like 8181, and theirs was 8161. It was easy to mistake. Usually, we'd always answer the phone with, "Thank you for calling. This is ABC Auto Parts. How can I help you?" And usually, they would say right off the bat, in a question form, "So this isn't the hospital." I would explain, they would apologize, then I would give them the correct number, and that would solve the problem pretty easy. Until one day, this happened. I answered the phone with my usual greeting, and not listening to what I said, a woman proceeded to chatter about a family member being committed. She was talking so fast, I didn't have time to explain, but finally I got the words out. "I'm sorry, you had the wrong number. You need to call 8161. No more than 2 minutes later, the phone rings again, and it's her. I pick up, and before I can say anything, she went on a tirade. "They just told me that there's no beds available, and I need to get my sister admitted now. I don't care if they can't accept new patients, they really need to get her in. She needs it, and I can't handle this." Again, I tried to explain to her that it was the wrong number. Now, she would hang up and do this 4 or 5 more times. When finally, I got tired of it. After this final tirade, and her repeating that there was no room for her sister in the hospital that she called, I went ahead and told her, "I'm sorry, ma'am, for your troubles. Just bring her in and we'll figure something out." "Well, thank God. It's about time you guys did your jobs." And she hung up. It must have been an hour later, and she called back, and she started yelling at me. "They turned me away again. I thought you said they'd fix it, but they said they have no vacancies. What are you going to do about it?" Listen, ma'am, I tried to tell you 6 or 7 times, but you haven't listened to me. You needed to call 8161. Not me. We're an auto parts store. We have nothing to do with a hospital. Please stop calling me. I think she finally realized her mistake or something, cause I never heard back from her. I do feel pretty bad for her sister, because I let my frustration get the better of me. Looking back, I wish I hadn't have done it. I was much younger, and I was prone to foolishness. But if I'm gonna be honest with myself, it does bring me to a little bit of laughter after I think about it. You know what? She would probably drive me crazy because she doesn't listen to anybody. That's probably why her sister has to go in the first place. It's not very nice, is it? You know what? More than likely, she's just really worried and concerned about her sister, and her not listening is just a side effect of her worrying. That's happened to me, and I'm sure it's happened to a lot of people. Thank you very much for joining me for this edition of I Don't Work Here Lady. I got several stories from Reddit and several stories from my inbox. And I want to really thank those who sent their stories to me. I'm really slow, so I'm really sorry. I do try to read them. If I don't reply, I'm still reading them. I really like to reply back and say thank you, but I haven't been doing that. Not really much excuse for it, except for I'm really bad at checking email. But I really appreciate your stories, I really do. I'll go through all the stories that I can and read when I have the chance. Thank all of you who have sent your stories in, even if they've been from a while back. I really did enjoy reading them. So thank you for sending them in. And if you have sent your story in and I haven't read it, I'm sorry. It takes me a while to get through all of this stuff. And when I get really stressed, I'll fall back on one of my other sources so I don't have to, sort through all my emails. It does help a lot when you mention exactly where your story falls into. Regardless, I love reading them. I want to go ahead and give a thanks to those who share them. I know it takes a lot of effort to type it out and share your experiences, and I appreciate your willingness to share. It takes a measure of bravery to share your experiences with others. I do understand that. I've had to be brave to share some of my experiences on this channel. Hope you guys are having a good time. If you're not, hang in there. It will change. Change is always guaranteed, but stick with it. When there's bad, there's usually always good too. Because even in bad situations, you can learn something very valuable that'll make it better for the next time, or avoid it entirely. So life is a big learning game, so stick with it. It was never meant to be easy. What accomplishment worth having is easy. I'm not going to complain about getting easy. You can throw it my way if you want. I'm cool with easy. If life wants to throw me some easy from time to time. Well, again, thank you very much for listening, and remember, have fun with your failures, or they'll have fun with you.